This is hypnotic authenticity. This is a space for inner clarity, where hypnosis meets self-inquiry, where the stories that you carry can become gentle invitations for change. We're going to explore identity, emotional harmony, and authentic living through subtle, mindful approaches and a really, really good sprinkling of hypnosis. So take a slow, deep breath and let's begin. I'm going to talk today about feelings of inferiority, maybe go as far as inferiority complexes or maybe even as far as imposter syndrome. But I want to talk about this, the crux of what it is and what to do very directly so that you will be thrilled to exhibit your truth, exhibit your authenticity, be your integrity. And so today I want to be much more kind of direct. I want to be much more, stop it! Pretty much anything that I look at, a work of art, any act of genius. At the back of my mind, there's a little part of me going, well, why didn't you do that? You know, why didn't you? Or that could have been. So it's dead easy for us to find that. What I want to do is get beyond that. Get beyond that to the point where you are filled with drive to simply be yourself. So for me, all emotions in actual fact are just messengers, and they're all neutral. They're just delivering a piece of information, and then they'll go away. So inferiority is kind of a protective mechanism. So Adler defines inferiority into two distinct characteristics, one of which is kind of problematic inferiority, and the other one is very useful inferiority. So problematic inferiority is when you are comparing yourself with others, kind of assuming that the world is a competition, that there is a pecking order, that we're all trying to scrabble to the top of the mountain. And in order to achieve that, in order to succeed, we have to pick the other people off and hurl them over the side of the mountain. And even when we get to the top, if we were to get to the top, it would be so precarious because then everybody else is competing. None of it is particularly helpful. Even if you get there, you still can't enjoy the fruits of what it is that you thought was important to you. That's unhealthy inferiority. Healthy inferiority is where we are all competing with ourselves. There is a sort of a sense inside of us of our higher self, our higher order, our capabilities, the things that we might, if we really, really put our mind to it, be able to become, to express. And so we're constantly kind of comparing ourselves against that and racing against ourselves, let's say. And so everybody might be running a race, but they're all running their own race, and people are running at different speeds. They've got different genetic gifts. They've had different experiences in life all the way back from the day that they were born. And they are a conundrum. They are the thousand things which have all comprised into one, which we think we are, some of which we're really good at, other bits that we're not as good at as someone else. But that's just the kind of way it is. And inferiority is saying, yes, but look at all the things that we're not good at. And because we're a risk management machine, we tend to focus far more on the things that we're not good at and not very much on the things that we are good at. So first of all, let's whack that one straight out of the field, because this is grotesquely wrong. Perfectionism is the conclusion of that. I should be great in all things in order that I am not inferior in any way. Because if I'm inferior in some way, I have to hide that part of myself. I have to present the parts of me which are great to other people so that they'll love me and accept me. And so I'm going to expend a huge amount of energy on that presentation. And then with what's left, I'll go and live my life. That's exhausting. The amount of energy we're expending on something which is effectively fruitless, because we can't even guess what it is that the other person might like. It's a nonsense. It's an absolute nonsense. So can you imagine if you stopped doing that and all of that energy instead was plowed into what it was that you truly were? Where was I going? Okay, so in actual fact, there is no such thing as perfectionism. There is no such thing as being the perfect human being, no more than there is a perfection in the pecking order of the world, let's say. The universe is already expressing itself through you. You are already perfect in your imperfection. For all light, there needs to be shade. If there isn't darkness, the light isn't relevant. It doesn't exist. For every yin, there is a yang. All of that is working on a set of laws that we are exhibiting within ourselves. Okay, so we're already perfect. And within that, there are things that are strong and there are things that are weak. There are things that conceptually we've decided are good and other things that we've conceptually decided are bad. But that's our perception. It's not reality. Reality is we're already perfect. Everybody is already perfect. So in order to exhibit what you are as a series of strengths and weaknesses, let's say, as a series of different characteristics of expressions of the universe that you've come to create over time that are partly genetic, that are partly experiential. You have intuition that comes from deep within you, and that you also have tuition that you have learned over time. In order to express any of that, thou must be a nonconformist. Everybody is desperately trying to remain consistent with how they were yesterday. I found myself in a situation a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if this is relevant throughout the world, but in Europe we have these things called cafe philo, where people sit around and they talk about things philosophically. And I was kind of ridiculed in one of these cafe philos because I said something which was inconsistent with something I'd said 20 minutes earlier. And I just laughed at this. It's like, so what? People are organisms. We are capable of holding inconsistent views inside our head simultaneously and to defend each as if each were true, whilst knowing that there is an inconsistency between the two. The idea that we should remain consistent with what we were before negates the entire reason why we might exist. If that were the case, you might as well just look at your shadow. Everything that would be truthful about you today would be what was there yesterday. So rather than conform to some, I don't know where this came from, but this idea that thou shalt be consistent, that you should be able to explain everything in a linear fashion and to justify that to the ends of the earth. Instead, speak your truth now. And if tomorrow your truth is different, speak your different truth now and now and now. And own that. So we've got to be nonconformist, which means we've got to be comfortable with the idea that people are going to disagree and go, well, that's not very consistent with how you were yesterday. But that's not sacred. What is sacred is the integrity of what it is that you are in this moment in time. It's not sacred whether you're consistent with what you were yesterday. So therefore, it's not sacred what other people think about you. But if you're not consistent with yourself, if you don't own what it is that you are right now and exhibit that, well, then you wither away inside of yourself. And when you do exhibit your truth right now, whatever that may be, that's where joy lies. That's where you are owning your reality, exhibiting your reality, celebrating your reality, maybe. Celebrating your reality is a great way to describe it. You're permitting your soul to dance. How's about that? Let's talk about right, wrong, values, virtues, vices. The only way that you can find peace inside of all of that is by owning all of that, of owning the good, the bad, the indifferent, of owning your values, of owning your principles, and of deciding inside of yourself what's right, what's wrong, and insisting on that, insisting on yourself. What is important to you? What is right and wrong to you? What triggers a sense of injustice? Jung made me laugh. Jung basically said, and I am paraphrasing, but he basically said, thank God I'm not a Jungian. Now, you can learn a lot from that, right? So the idea is he didn't wish to be compartmentalized within the definition of what it is to be a Jungian. He was just being young. He was just being himself. He was defining that. And then other people came along and added bells and whistles and boxed it in and made it what it was. Whereas he was just being himself. Every man is unique. You can't become young by reading Jung's books. So give up. You are already your own gift, effectively, is what I'm saying. What that means, therefore, is that all those parts of us that we think are inferior, those parts of us that are false, well, they're the biggest gifts. Yeah, they are everything that leads us to be a more wondrous version of ourselves. Okay, if you didn't have any faults, if you were comfortable, you would be kind of, well, apathetic, complacent, lazy. You wouldn't go anywhere. It's when there is this voice at the back that says, yes, but, look at these parts of you that are flawed, are wrong, aren't doing as well as they should be. That's where you get your drive to go and push against yourself to succeed in ways which are relevant to you. It doesn't matter what other people think, but you are succeeding on your own terms. It shines a light on the areas that you either have to integrate or that you need to learn more. And then you can go off and use that as a wonderful expression. There's a guy called Ralph Waldo Emerson, and I'm not big on American literature, but this I really liked. He talks about each man having their vocation. They have the thing that they are just fantastic at, their talent, their calling. And he describes it as like a ship which is in a river. And so pretty much all of the directions that the ship might go in the river is going to cause the ship to start banging either against other boats or against the sides of the river. But there is a way where you can aim the ship and the ship will go without any obstructions, and you just sweep along beautifully, gracefully, living like you are. So the end result of that is follow your heart, follow your intuition. What your heart feels is great really is great. Don't take my words and follow them. Follow your own words. Live life by the way that makes sense to you. Now, part of making sense to you means fitting in with the world. It doesn't mean suddenly becoming a selfish individual. It's a very important part of our values are in valuing the experiences and thoughts and observations of others, because we can learn from that and we get comfort and security and safety, and we see ourselves through the reflected light of others. It's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So I'm not saying that suddenly you self-isolate, but there is an element to you which is beautiful and unique to you, and the entire system benefits from you exhibiting your you-ness. Identity is a doing, it's not a thing. It's fluid, it evolves. This entire idea of us being consistent with ourselves is a nonsense, because it and I and all things evolve. Everything is changing, and somewhere within that is the beautiful adventure of life. I think that's enough. I've done enough. Thank you for watching. I'll find ways of linking through to the other videos. I've got all sorts of other things that you can look at in terms of this feeling of inferiority. So we've got boundaries. Boundaries are fantastic for inferiority. What is it that is within my sphere of influence? What is within my sphere of concern? And what is, frankly, outside of all of that? Yeah. Then I've got a video on transactional analysis, on games that people play and the implicit ways in which we try and maintain the pecking order of life and kind of score points against other people in order to lift ourselves away from this feeling of inferiority. That's very, very useful. I'm sure there are others as well, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. All right, take care. I hope some of that is of interest. I hope you will truly now, with complete authenticity and integrity, go and exhibit your beautiful self, whatever that means, to the world. Be grateful for the opportunity. Today's never coming again. All right, take care. Bye. Thank you for listening. If it supported you in some way or helped you to question your inner experience, then follow the show. Personally, I would be really grateful if you might also leave a quick rating. It makes a huge difference in terms of discoverability so that other people who might benefit can find the podcast. If you prefer a visual element, check out Authentic Life Hypnosis on YouTube. And if you're looking for deeper work beyond one-way audio yourself, you're very welcome to reach out. Equally, if you have any questions, I'm here to help. Until next time.